Welcome to Sepang, Malaysia for round 17, the final round of the 2000 FIA Formula One World Championship. Michael Schumacher comes here with the world driving title in his pocket. So all eyes are on this prize, the Constructors' Championship. Will it be McLaren, Mercedes, or Scuderia Ferrari? And on down the standings, finishing positions determine purse money, travel money, paddock square footage, and pit locations among the perks of Formula One. Which logo will be on this trophy in Space 2000? Let's find out. Welcome to Sepang for the final event of year 2000. Hi everyone, I'm Mike Joy alongside former Ferrari F1 driver and five-time Le Mans winner Derek Bell. Peter Windsor, former team manager at Williams and at Ferrari, will join us from the paddock with news of interest during our Mercedes-Benz pre-race. Here's what's coming up in the fastest half hour of racing on television. We'll hear from 2000 champion Michael Schumacher. We'll have highlights of the year's final qualifying session. We'll give the Formula One circuit our report cards for the year. And we'll get response from around the paddock to Ferrari's winning the championship with Michael Schumacher. So there's the scene along the pit lane as cars are out for their reconnaissance laps. Here in Kuala Lumpur, second year that this brand new circuit has been in existence. They drew 78,000 spectators here 1 year ago and an estimated TV audience of 600 million. Here's how things stand as we come to round 17, the final race of the year. Schumacher is the world champion. Hakkinen the runner-up. Barrichello with a win could pip David Coulthard for third in the final driver standings. Now, among the constructors, if Ferrari scores just 3 points, even if McLaren scores a maximum 16 with a win, the tiebreaker would be Ferrari's victories, 9 to then McLaren's 8. And Ferrari would win the constructor title by scoring just 3 points today.
But in the constructors overall, Ferrari had 156 to McLaren's 143. Then the interesting thing then is Williams, but Benetton, Plylife, Bayer, Honda and Jordan all very close, vying there for fourth place. Just nothing between them at all.
And there is an awful lot at stake there among the perks of Formula One. McLaren and Sauber rolling out for recon laps here on this very new, very smooth and very wide circuit. Peter Windsor asked our new world champion, Michael Schumacher, to describe what he was thinking on that last lap at Suzuka.
A very tricky one, because you know that it's raining. You don't know how wet it is approaching the next corner. You know you have about 4 seconds. When I went into the last corner, I knew it had come down to about 2 seconds by the end of the lap. And it is very difficult to time everything right, not to do the mistake, but use your advantage to the maximum and yeah, drive it home.
And what was it like once you did cross the line? What was the first thing you heard in your radio?
Yeah, first of all, I heard the team talking to me and just being mad and out of order to some degree. And the other thing was that I think my steering wheel failed functions after I hit it so hard, being maybe broken. So that's the two things that come straight in mind.
Michael Schumacher becomes the 8th driver to win a world championship for Scuderia Ferrari. Note the 21 years that have elapsed since Jody Scheckter was Ferrari's last champion in 1979. Fangio has 5 world championships. Alain Prost has 4. Here are the drivers, an elite group that Schumacher joins with 3 apiece.
Absolutely amazing, really. You look at the group, they're a very, very eloquent group. You have to look back over the years. Wonderful to be part of that history.
Yes. Here's a man of the hour. Alexander Wirtz had a tremendous qualifying session. He's had a lackluster season up until these past 3 races, but he has really shined. That's his car number, not his starting position. For news of the past 2 weeks, we join Peter Windsor.
Great news for Jaguar fans is that after months of negotiation, Neil Ressler has managed to secure the services of the aerodynamicist Mark Hanford. Now, Mark has been under contract to Carl Haas in America for several years, working on the Swift and therefore the Lola designs. But he is to join Jaguar forthwith and therefore will have impact on the 2001 design. So that's great news for all Jaguar fans. Meanwhile, at Renault and Benetton, a little bit of controversy there. The rumour in the pit lane this morning was that Christian Constant, the Renault director, really instrumental for putting the Williams Renault and subsequently the Benetton Renault deals together, has left the company. But Flavio Briatore has vehemently denied that and says that no, Mr. Constant is staying on. So watch this space. What we do know is that Benetton will be running on Michelin tyres next year, although that has yet to be confirmed. So it'll be Jaguar, Williams and Benetton on Michelin in 2001. Marc Genet has been approached by Williams to be their third test driver for next year. That's great news for Marc because Telefonica, his telecommunications Spanish backer, pulled out of Formula One last week. So Marc, after a good year with Minardi, does need a break. Johnny Herbert was also approached by Williams but turned the offer down because he would rather concentrate on getting a drive in America next year. And we'll hear more from Johnny shortly. Finally, the AMT Peugeot engine, currently seen in the Prost, had its debut last week in Spain at Valencia, driven by Pedro de la Rosa. The engine performed beautifully. He loved it. So good news there for Arrows. And it really confirms what we've always thought. At Prost, the problem really is not with the engine.
Thanks, Peter. Earlier this weekend, Eddie Jordan showed off some new chassis improvements at Team Jordan.
They look a bit like aerodynamics to me, I have to admit, mate.
I was talking about the car, Derek.
I wasn't.
Welcome back to Sepang, Malaysia. Our Mercedes-Benz pre-race continues with a look at this circuit, no longer the newest F1 circuit, but certainly the most modern.
Yeah, it is a great track. Very, very smooth indeed. 3.4 miles long, 15 turns, 4 of them are hairpins. Top speed about 187 miles an hour. More of that, let's go and ride with Johnny Herbert. For one of his last runs on this wonderful circuit, the wonderful new circuit, 185 miles an hour, comes down into turn 1. Second gear corner, feeds the power on gently as he goes in there. Get a lot of understeer through these corners. Very difficult to set the cars up because they're forever pushing it, trying to feed that power on as he works his way up through 150, up to something like 185 miles an hour down this long straight. The surface is an interesting, very interesting, parts of it unusual, canvas and height changes, of course, which you have to contend with. Works his way around that tight corner, 60 miles up to 135 as he sweeps himself through turn 5. Hear him just fluttering a little bit on the rev limiter there. Works his way through turn 6, back up to 170 miles an hour, then backing down for turn 7, just over 100 miles an hour through this pair of corners as he works his way through there. Surface is very, very smooth. They're running a very, very new tyre this weekend. Comes into a very tight corner, actually the tightest on the circuit. First gear, 45 miles an hour. Accelerates out, another long turn. This really beats the tyres to death. Through turn 11, accelerates up for turn 12. He's back up to about 160 miles an hour. Backs off a little bit, 5th gear. Works his way into turn 13. Gets on, trying to get it all on there. He is as he gets out. Works onto the back straight, which comes down behind the grandstands, the beautiful grandstands designed after hibiscus, the national plant here in Sepang. Braking very, very hard for this tight hairpin bend, 2nd gear. 50 miles an hour. Out of that, up he comes, burns his way up past the pits. That was a lap with Johnny Herbert. And there we have track surface, I said, was smooth. Grip level is high. Tire compound, they're using this new soft tire. Tire wear medium, brake wear medium. Maximum throttle 60% of the lap. Fuel consumption medium as well. But we'll probably see them doing 2 stops. Because they're not sure about this new tire. I think it's a new tire, obviously, to combat Michelin for next year.
Right. Last year, many of the teams had one driver on a 1-stop and one on a 2-stop strategy. So I'm not sure if we'll see that today yet or not. Well, let's have a look at highlights of yesterday's qualifying session. Somewhat predictable in its result, at least the first 2 rows, and somewhat surprising from there on.
Well, everybody just sat there for 20 minutes waiting for the session to start. They're all looking at notes, and Mika Hakkinen actually did start to get himself ready after about 20 minutes. But it is very hot there. Michael Schumacher looks quite cool, very relaxed. Mika does go out, however, for one of the first out there, and naturally collects fastest time. Michael Schumacher, very cool, having just won the World Championship. Ultimately, he decides better don helmet. What does he do? Knocks 2 tenths off Mika's time. that was really it. Michael stayed on pole for the rest of the second, but it was Alexander Wirth who'd go out. He's been going so well lately. Now he knows that he's the test driver at McLaren for next year. Fine fifth. Johnny Herbert out for his last and final qualifying session with Jaguar. He did extremely well, but not as well as he'd hoped. Michael Schumacher goes out again, says, well, let's see if I can knock a bit more time off my fastest time. And he does. Knocks another 4/10 off. Look at that. Absolutely amazing. 4/10 of his time. Hakkinen goes, looks like I better go out again. But just before he does, Rubens Barrichello goes out. He gets second place. Ultimately, he's to be fourth. David Coulthard goes out right at the end, and he pushes Barrichello out of second place down to third. And then out goes that man, Mika Hakkinen, two-time world champion. Out he goes, and he pushes the time, and he gets second place. Incredible stuff. Well, Michael Schumacher has a drink for his 32nd pole. Let's ask him, is there any pressure?
We are racers because we love it, and obviously in this situation it's ideal. There's no pressure. We all know what is the situation, and we just race because we just love it. And you just drive freely to the limit as good as you can without any thinking behind it, and that gives this extra pleasure you're sometimes looking for.
Well, Alexander Wirth has been outstanding all weekend. He's talking to Peter Windsor.
As last year, great qualifying performance in Malaysia. Alexander, congratulations. Was that the Benetton qualifying car you haven't seen for a while, or was that the third McLaren you're in this afternoon?
Maybe both. They mind in the McLaren in my next year's team, but this was the qualifying car I've never seen before, just in testing, and my teammate used until the last race, but he was very disappointed that I out-qualified him the last couple of races, so he thought it's not the car, but today I showed my team boss especially that is the car.
Well, you certainly did that. You also seem to like this circuit. Is there one particular corner that gives you a lot of pleasure?
Well, it's the car performs quite good here, and we can always push. There's real pressure being in Malaysia, and giving this is a little goodbye present to the people. There's still some who support me in Benetton, and thanks for them.
Well, that's right. And we'll enjoy watching you in your last race for Benetton tomorrow, and very best of luck.
Thank you.
Very much like the Alexander Wirth of last season, when he was so impressive and then kind of tailed off this year. Looks like in-car cameras we'll have today will be Johnny Herbert and Rubens Barrichello, honoring Johnny's final Formula One race as he heads for perhaps kart next year and some oval track racing. So Johnny was honored by Jaguar at a party for Johnny and his wife Becky. Eddie Irvine gave Johnny a left turn pitboard sign, and he got a number of gifts and remembrances, some of which we can't really relate on this program, but all of which were very, very funny. So well done, Johnny, on a great career. Welcome back to Sepang as pre-race continues here, and we get set to go in 13 minutes on our Mercedes-Benz pre-race. Well, Johnny Herbert, there's teammate Eddie Irvine. It's Johnny's final day in Formula One. Here's a look at his career stats that include 3 wins and 7 podium finishes, driving for 6 different teams if you count Stewart and Jaguar as one. Peter asked him to sum up this career.
Well, it's been an interesting career. You know, I feel that I did a very good job early on after the accident, especially in getting back and having a chance to do Formula One. I think doing the first race at Benetton at Rio was the best decision I've ever done, and everybody remembered that. And then I was very fortunate that when I got back to Lotus and Peter Collins got me back in, that I was then able to stay in it. And there has been 3 wins. Maybe I haven't achieved what I wanted to achieve, but at the end of the day, I've never given up, and I still won't give up until the last lap this weekend.
And next year?
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to that. I think that's probably the big thing. I'm not going to miss the moment, the end of my career in Formula One, because I'm looking forward to having a good bash at the Champ Car Series next year, because that's what one of the things I've wanted to achieve in my racing life, and I'm going to go there guns are blazing and give it my best, and I'm sure it will work out to be very successful.
And we'll look forward to seeing you in America.
Thank you.
Don't forget, in the middle of his career, he actually went off and won Le Mans as well, just to show that he was fit and well after his terrible accident.
Very versatile. And, there's David Coulthard. Wish Johnny well next year. Well, let's give our season's report card from those of us here at Fox Sports Net. First two choices I think should be fairly obvious. He went from Jensen Hu to On the Button. He's my choice for Rookie of the Year. Driver of the Year, well, that should be fairly obvious. Who else but Michael Schumacher, who is our world champion for the year 2000. Just a sterling season. Team Principal of the Year, well, Ross Brawn doesn't run Ferrari, but he and Michael sure put that championship together. Team of the Year. Was Williams that bad last year or that good this year? It doesn't matter. They've made tremendous strides. Pass of the Year. Got to give it to Jacques. What a ballsy move on Heinz for third at the end of the USGP. Didn't work, but hey, so what? Valiant effort. And Michael's reaction to the fans saluting his USGP win, for me, that was the outstanding moment of this season. Peter Windsor, how about from your point of view?
Thanks, Mike. Well, Rookie of the Year, that's a hard one. Jensen Button, of course, although I do think Nick Heidfeld did a great job, so special commendation for him. Driver of the Year, no question for me, Michael Schumacher. Team Principal of the Year, I select Flavio Briatore. He snatched Renault engines and Jensen Button mid-season, and that's exactly what team principals are paid to do. He did the deal. I think the Team of the Year was Williams, however. To do what they did with that new BMW engine was truly outstanding. Pass of the Year, Mika Hakkinen passed Michael Schumacher. Yes, he did that at Spa, but he also did it into Turn 1 at Hungary when they were both on new tyres. That was extremely impressive. The most memorable moment of the year for me, undoubtedly, was that interview with the Schumacher brothers in Brazil, getting them both in the same room and asking them questions, and they couldn't leave until I was finished. That was fantastic. Derek, I'm sure you disagree with all of that. Go for it.
Well, I always bow to your better judgment, Peter, and you get paid more than me anyway. Rookie of the Year, Jensen Button, without a doubt. Driver of the Year, well, Michael Schumacher. What more can you say about that man that's dragged Ferrari through the last 5 years? Principal of the Year, of course, he isn't principal of the team, but I think a major player with all his tactics in the motor racing world this year. Team of the Year, well, to me, it still had to be Ferrari. I think they've done a magnificent job, gelled so well. And Pass of the Year was Mika Hakkinen overtaking Michael Schumacher with the astonished Zonta between them in Belgium. And the most memorable moment, well, I think really was Michael Schumacher's emotion at the Italian Grand Prix.
A look around the circuit, very new and very beautifully landscaped here. 78, nearly 80,000 people expected today. And next year, this race will move from the end of the season. It was the penultimate race last year, final race this year. Next year, it moves to March. Now, next year's schedule has some gaps of more than one weekend. We start in Australia, go to Malaysia, Brazil, San Marino, Spain. Austria takes what was the British Grand Prix date. They flip dates. Remember the rains in Britain, Monaco, Canada, Europe, France. Britain will be in mid-July ahead of Germany. Then August, there's that break, and then August 19th, Hungary, and then Belgium, Italy, the United States, and just one race in October, Japan. How will the driver lineups look? Ferrari and McLaren, just like this year. Montoya comes to Williams. Button moves over to Benetton. Penny to BAR alongside Villeneuve. No change at Jordan. Arrows, a lot of question marks further down the grid. Birdie will join, Luciano Birdie will join Irvine at Jaguar. Denise may go to Prost and Minardi. Well, who brings the dough is who goes. Yet to be seen.
There's a beautiful hibiscus that they've designed from their national flag. I think it's the most beautiful, elegant grandstand facility anywhere in the world.
So we're getting close to the start of the final event of the season as Mika Hakkinen dons his helmet. A little look behind the scenes at one of the briefing rooms where the teams and their drivers go to debrief after each session. We'll be right back. On Fox Sports Net is brought to you by Mercedes-Benz. Mercedes-Benz is the official safety car of Formula One. Visit them on the web at www.mbusa.com. And by Mobile One. Nothing outperforms Mobile One. We'd like to hear from you. Send your comments to Formula1@foxsports.net. Jordan getting set to go. We just saw that they're the grid girls in their native costume parading into position. As we draw closer to the start, just 5.5 minutes away, we ask folks around the Formula One paddock their thoughts on Ferrari's World Championship.
I'm very thankful to the team. I mean, to Ferrari to have given us the possibility of working well, to give me the possibility of building the team I wanted to build. So all that I realized. But on the other side, I mean, I don't want to be too emotional, because I think probably that was the weakest point of Ferrari in Italy, to be too emotional. So I just want to keep the feet on the ground.
I feel that way, you know, it brings again more interest for the sport from public. So we will see again more people watching Grand Prix racing and the different countries. So the Formula One gonna grow, you know, it's gonna be again in the future more difficult to walk on the street and not signing autographs all the time.
You can feel already less pressure within the team, and it's something that they've been waiting for such a long time. I mean, if you think, okay, 21 years, but then Jean-Todt 8 years, Michael 5, so it's go a long time back. So it's much less pressure within the team, and I think they would do a better job just because of that.
I personally think that they will just, I wouldn't say wait and see nothing yet, but I think they will just, unfortunately, attempt to get stronger and stronger as a team. And they will be very tough to beat. They're on a roll.
Ferrari is Formula One, and Formula One is Ferrari. So now that they've got to the top, everybody's happy, and they'll go on and do it again, and they'll be even happier.
Well, I think it's a little bit of a weight off our shoulders, because this thing of not Ferrari having failed for 21 years, which is not fair, because I think Ferrari have done very well over those 21 years. They just haven't won the Drivers' Championship. So there was this weight on our shoulders. It's gone there.
I think everybody's somewhat relieved for Ferrari. Jody Scheckter's slightly disappointed because he doesn't have the record now of the last Ferrari world champion. But I think it was a very justified win. I think it was good for Schumacher to get his third world championship. I think he deserves it.
It was good. You know, he's 21, 22 years. Ferrari have no championship. I believe is a good release for everybody.
There's a lot of talk about it evening things out for next season, but that would be presuming that it wasn't even this year, and how would I know? You know, so we'll come back, tune in next year, and another exciting installment of Formula One.
Honestly, all I can say is that Ferrari winning the World Championship is the most important thing to Formula One at this present time.
I think it'll add a lot to the series, but I think David's exactly right. Tune in next year for another exciting installment, and that's what we all hope for. A look around the circuit, those hillsides full of spectators as we draw close to the start of the Grand Prix of Malaysia, the final race of 2000, and it's coming up next. Welcome to Sepang, Malaysia, as the grid begins to clear as we get set for the formation lap. And then the start of the final race of 2000. Let's have a look at today's weather. Break the thermometer, 96 degrees. Humidity 57%. They were talking about a chance of rain. But at these temperatures, that would be welcome.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so hot in those cars, you can't believe. We did a sports car race there just a few years ago, and when we got out, we had to put our feet in buckets of ice and our hands to bring our body temperature down.
Goodness.
It is desperately wearing, and it's only the survival of the fittest.
Getting set for the formation lap. Michael Schumacher has fitted new rear tires, we're told, to his car. There he is on the right of your screen, on pole. Mika Hakkinen, not quite alongside, on the outside of the first row to your left. Formation lap underway. Let's show you how they'll start for this final race of the 2000 season. For Schumacher, it's his 9th pole of the season and the 32nd of his career.
And Mika Hakkinen pretty disappointed to be nearly half a second slower than Michael.
Look at David Coulthard, only 2/100ths of a second off of Mika's time.
And Rubens Barrichello was disappointed, but my goodness, he has had a bad cold all weekend.
The man most thrilled is Alexander Wirtz. He's exceeded everyone's expectations, lining up 5th.
And Jack Villeneuve, he was lucky he only got one run before his engine started to play up.
Eddie Irvine was frustrated. He's 7th, but he's only 5/100ths of a second out of 5th.
And Ralf Schumacher said he was struggling to set up all day.
Jarno Trulli says in retrospect he should have used a different tire strategy. He's 9th.
Frenzen, he was 10th. Throttle linkage problems beset him.
Ricardo Zonta said he couldn't develop a flow of the course and lines up 11.
Johnny Herbert had an understeering car, plus he has his wife as flag waver right beside him on the grid.
Right, very nice. Giancarlo Fisichella, dismal day, not well prepared. Was that him or the car? He's 13th.
And Pedro La Rosa just blamed it on the tires.
Jos Verstappen had problems with his car, had to go to the T car. He lines up 15th. Jenson Button, a lack of practice time relegates him to 16th. Remember, it's his first time here. Mika Salo did not get a clean lap as the Saubers and the Prost fight for down on the grid. Jean Alesi's dismal nightmare season continues in 18th. Nick Heidfeld very disappointed, and Pedro Diniz, fighting gobs of understeer, lines up 20th, but the day was saved for them by the Minardi's. They will line up in row 11. Good job by Marc Genet, who shaves lots off of his last year's qualifying time. He continues to improve, but look at Mazzacani. He is almost 2 seconds behind his teammate in a disastrous day. So that's the lineup as we ride back around with Rubens. He and Johnny Herbert will provide our in-car views today.
Yeah, well, Eddie Irvine's been complaining on his radio about Jacques Villeneuve's tires. He says they're nearly bald before the start, which, of course, goes to show that probably these bald tires do work exceptionally well. Michael Schumacher has just put brand new tires on the back of his car. Now, we didn't explain this earlier. We haven't had time yet. But, in fact, they have scrub fronts and brand new rears, and this seems to make a much better balance for those first few laps. And this is what they nearly all did in qualifying.
The last time that only 2 manufacturers have won every race was 1988. That's when McLaren nearly swept the season. Just the Ferrari win in the Italian Grand Prix kept them from doing so. Ferrari and McLaren are the only 2 constructors to win so far this year. So Constructors' Championship on the line. Ferrari needs 3 points today to clinch it. McLaren still with a slim chance and a big fight for 4th in the championship.
And is Michael Schumacher going to get a better start than he's had all year?
Whoa! Mika edged away but then stopped, so that should be a legal start. Schumacher drafting tightly. Then David inverts, is up for 4th. Here comes Barrichello on the inside. Squeezes in there.
Schumacher well shut out there, well blocked out. He tried to run with the back of Hakkinen, but he didn't make it into the corner. David Coulthard got by him. Both the Ferraris up there.
Big pile up at the top of the screen on the left. 3 cars get together. Villeneuve gets another tremendous start. And look at the carnage.
One of the arrows off the road, wheel of somebody bouncing down the road with suspension attached to it. So they could well have to stop this race. He's just trying to get away after he's had his lurid spin there.
Here's a look. Let's see what happened. Top of the screen.
It just wasn't enough room back there, was there? Oh,
Ooh.
dear, look at that arrows. That was a nasty moment there.
I think there's a loose wheel from a Sauber. Sort out the carnage in a bit.
The problem is the debris, you know, it's the carbon fiber that's left lying on the track, which these slivers of fiber can just ruin the tire, just like in a split second. It's inevitably one of the Prosts. They're having such a terrible time. No points at all.
Oh, it's
a lazy out. Well, safety car is out on the track because of that debris on the track. They've got to clear it up.
If you had scripted, if Stephen King had written the season for Jean Alesi, I don't think he could have made it any more nightmarish than it's been. Now here's another look. Already cars off.
Yeah, that one at the back is facing the wrong direction, that arrow. Yep. So he's trying to get it pointed the right way, hence the smoke. And there is a talk about Mika Hakkinen is under investigation because of the start he made, because he did jump the start. That would be a sad way for this race to start.
Well, as I saw it, Derek, he did move. There was movement from Hakkinen's side of the grid. But as David Coulthard explained after he got penalized at the U.S. Grand Prix, if he had come to a complete stop, it likely would not have been a foul. And Mika did come to a stop before the lights went out.
Yeah, it's coming to the stop before the lights go out, I think, is the critical thing, but it's such a split second. I thought they held those lights on rather a long time myself.
Yes.
I felt sorry for the drivers. You could hear them revving to death, and in that heat, that isn't funny, and those clutches just don't like it.
De La Rosa, Heidfeld, and Diniz now, we're told, rather than a lazy. was pointed out as the laziest car. No, it's there's Denitz, who had a great time the other day for Sauber in Penang. They ran a Formula One car through the streets of the city in front of 10,000 people. Pedro had a much better time than he's had today.
At least he can slide the car around and have any problems and get hit by people. Look at Wirtz right up there. He did have another sensational start. Jacques Villeneuve as well. In fact, that is exactly how they went off the line, is how they went off qualifying on that row.
For a moment, Villeneuve was ahead of Wirtz, and actually it was up alongside Barrichello. So it really took a lot of aggressive maneuvers by Barrichello to get fourth spot back. Watch especially Barrichello and the white car of Villeneuve has little problems with the host feed there.
Well, Jenson Button had sensational run, 16th down to 10th.
Look, everybody, now watch on the left side, Barrichello. Villeneuve comes all the way over to the right side and comes up alongside the blue car of Wirtz, who blocks out Barrichello. Barrichello says, never mind, I'm going to get in there. Villeneuve comes around almost up even with Michael.
He did a sensational job.
Yeah.
He's had some wonderful starts. They've worked on it very hard, and nobody knows quite why, but both the McLarens seem to have outrageous starts as well. Both the Ferraris left behind there. Now the guys are moving around here trying to keep those tire temperatures up, because they didn't have much chance to keep them up because they didn't run any laps. So the tires are warm from when they actually were on their tire warmers before they went onto the grid. So the tires could be getting quite cool. I know it's 100 degrees out there, so they shouldn't drop below that.
No.
Safety car in the pits.
And we're back under green. So they're saying Heidfeld, now saying Heidfeld, Denitz out of race, and Pedro de la Rosa.
Oh, look at Schumacher trying to go down the inside as well. Looked like they let Coulthard by. Here's the start again. Look at that, though. Both Ferraris had dismal starts.
Yes.
Look at Barrichello falling back into the clutches of Wirtz and Villeneuve. But what a wonderful... Look at Barrichello come down the inside of Wirtz as they come into turn one. That's the car on the immediate left side of your picture. He goes by, Villeneuve goes by.
Well, there's Villeneuve right there, almost at third place.
Yes, but subsequently lost it.
Yes. Well, he's outside on the dirtier part of the racetrack there. And there Barrichello comes right back up alongside him.
Looks like Michael's having a go there. He's got by Hakkinen, has he?
And here comes Barrichello.
Now the thing is, the battle really for this race is can the Ferraris just get these valuable points? Whoa, dear! One of the McLarens really had a close call then. Looked like he locked them up pretty bad. And you remember, he's got Alexander Wirtz right behind that McLaren. Now, there could be a reason for this, is the fact that, of course, if Hakkinen was to get a penalty, it would mean that they'd want the other car to be well ahead and get a nice lead on. Here we go. Let's take a look at this. Good overtake.
Wow.
Who said there's no overtaking in Formula 1? That was an overtaking maneuver.
Nice move, Rubens.
But Hakkinen obviously was asked to move over and let David go by, because David needs these points.
Well, and the hope would have been that Hakkinen could have held up the Ferraris, but that has not proven to be the case.
Makes you wonder whether Mika Hakkinen has in fact got a problem with his car, whether they found something out on the telemetry back in the pits and they're telling him, you know, to let David go, don't do anything about it. There was thoughts, well, maybe he was set there to hold the Ferraris back, but I don't think so at all. Mika might have had a problem, and it might have been to do with his almost like a double start he made.
Since I've done such a poor job of speculating all year, let me keep my record intact. Could David be on light tanks and Mika on full tanks?
Well, there you go. We won't know, will we, for about 17 laps?
And then I'll be proven wrong as usual. Perhaps.
Look at Burt doing a stupendous job there, hanging in with that Benetton. He's had such a terrible time this year. He's been really badly, I believe, let down by the team. I think he was totally demoralised when Fabio Briatore came along. And he just never got the equipment right the way through until suddenly Fisichella doesn't do a good job in the United States Grand Prix. And of course, suddenly they go, oh, well, maybe Wirtz isn't so bad after all. And suddenly Wirtz is the flavour of the month, and there he is getting the best car.
Well, here's what happens when you're no longer world champion. Mika's just been handed a 10-second penalty for jumping the start. He'll get a 10-second stop and hold penalty because the stewards have judged that he has jumped the start. His teammate, David Coulthard, is leading after 4 laps. You're watching Formula One on Fox Sports Net. Welcome back to Sepang. Mike Joy with Derek Bell and Peter Windsor. Watching David Coulthard, the leader from McLaren Mercedes. His teammate, Mika Häkkinen, has been in the pits for his 10-second penalty for jumping the start. And remember, McLaren needed to put maximum points on the board today to have a chance at the Constructors' Championship. And now with Häkkinen coming back out, not in a point position, makes that job that much harder.
I tell you, when you go in for a stop and go that early on in the race, it puts you well behind because there's a lot of people to overtake. As the race opens up, of course, and they used to take longer with their deliberation, as they did, I think, in David's case of the US Grand Prix. It meant that when David went in, he actually didn't lose that much time or that many places. Mika's lost a bunch of places.
And Jarno Trulli's had problems. The Jordan driver started in 9th, now finds himself back in 19th place. 22 seconds off the lead.
Irvine a very good 6th place, as those three, Wirtz, Villeneuve and Irvine, are very, very close up. Now, everything rests with McLaren on David Coulthard's shoulders. He hasn't been that happy this weekend with the car. Well, certainly during qualifying he hasn't been very happy at all with it.
Coulthard, our leader, his teammate Mika Häkkinen, a 10-second penalty for jumping the start. So it's McLaren, Ferrari, Benetton, BAR, Jaguar. And this is Frentzen in.
You have to remark that Frentzen did have a spin just now. He went off the road, so he probably came in to check his tyres. There must have been some damage. Probably the reason he went off the road is he probably had possible deflating tires. Something like that would affect his handling.
And what a season for Jordan. Last year a strong number 3 in the World Championship. Right now they are 6th, and with both cars now at the back of the field, not in a good position to move past BAR or Benetton in the final constructors tally.
Because next year is very, very important for Jordan, because as you all well know, Honda are very interested in taking over BAR's racing team, and they would like to purchase it possibly end of next year, as early as that, or during that following season, which would mean that they would put all their efforts into their own team rather than that of Jordan, who of course they will be supplying with factory Honda engines next year.
And that plot gets even thicker with the news that Mugen is not really, they don't want to leave Formula One. They want to find a team to support as well.
Well, Formula One certainly needs these engine manufacturers in there. One has to remark David Coulthard gradually eking away bit by bit from Michael Schumacher, but Schumacher really, he just wants to get that Constructors' Championship, which is our loss, I'm afraid, but there's still a long way to go. And when they come in for their pit stops, I think then it will certainly liven up. And as you said, Mike, maybe David Coulthard is on a lighter fuel load.
Remember, Coulthard could lose 3rd in the Drivers' Championship should Barrichello win and David score no points.
Well, David's certainly trying to make sure that that doesn't happen.
Right.
Now, whether, of course, Michael Schumacher will move over, which I believe he would. He'd move over to let Barrichello by if that situation arose. But it's no good. Barrichello isn't within striking distance at the moment, so there's no point in him considering letting Barrichello go through. But believe me, if you've got a cold or a bad head problem like Barrichello's had, and you're in this climate, it isn't fun.
Lose 3rd in the Drivers' Championship should Barrichello win and David score no points.
Well, Dave is certainly trying to make sure that that doesn't happen.
Right.
Now, whether, of course, Michael Schumacher will move over, which I believe he would. He'd move over to let Barrichello by if that situation arose. But it's no good. Barrichello isn't within striking distance at the moment, so there's no point in him considering letting Barrichello go through. But believe me, if you've got a cold or a bad head problem like Barrichello's had, and you're in this climate, it isn't fun racing in those conditions.
High heat, high humidity, and is this Frentzen again for the second time in the pit lane?
He says goodnight, I'm parking it at the end of the 2000 season. And he'll be quite glad it's over.
He will, of course, be back with Jordan next year, as will Jarno Trulli. Benetton holds the option on Trulli for the 2002 season, and it's, although everyone knows that Flavio Briatore is likely to exercise it, he went public with that. Kind of makes you wonder what kind of motivation Fisichella has next year when he knows he's a lame duck driver before the season even starts. As in 02, it'll be Trulli and Button at Benetton.
I'm amazed the way Wirtz, Villeneuve, Irvine, Zonta, and even Johnny Herbert are hanging in there, not that far behind the two Ferraris.
Well, with an ambient temperature of 98 degrees, does that alter your race strategy as how hard you push from the start?
I can't help thinking, but you do actually pace yourself just a little bit. But it's strange, you know, you build yourself up, you're thinking about it. This race is going to be the hottest, most humid race of the year. I'm going to pace myself. And when you get there, in fact, you're in such good shape and your sort of mental attitude has overcome everything that you actually drive a very hard race, and it doesn't really affect you until you get out, and then you virtually want to collapse.
Frentzen out of the car and out of the season. You see Wirtz and you'll see Villeneuve just poking into the picture there occasionally.
It makes you wonder what Benetton have been up to this year when they can then produce a car for Wirtz that will do this. He wasn't even allowed to have a spare car at the United States Grand Prix and other Grand Prix because that was set up already for Fisichella to drive. And just because Fisichella didn't arrive in time for one of their practice sessions, wasn't there for one of the hospitality days, he was sort of switched around a bit and he was out of favour, and suddenly Wirtz is the golden boy. But I do think it has a lot to do with the fact, Mike, that Wirtz has been signed up by the McLaren. It's given him that confidence when everybody was talking badly about him. Given him the confidence, making him, well, if McLaren want me as a test driver, then I must be all right.
Right. Well, as he told Peter, he said, well, it's the car. If I have the good car, I can do a good job. And certainly he's done that. Having a great run here today in 4th place. Peter, what about the weather here in Malaysia this weekend?
Yes, heat very much an issue here at the Malaysian Grand Prix. Incredible humidity and ambient temperatures. And guess what? Next March, when the Formula One circus comes back to Malaysia as round 2 of the 2001 World Championship, it will be even hotter. So the teams really are using this as a pre-March 2001 heat test.
Well, that's pretty tough, though, Peter, isn't it? I mean, to have to keep putting up with this heat every time we go to Malaysia. And there's just no let-up. It's right in the tropics.
10 laps complete. David Coulthard now out to a 5.3-second lead on Michael Schumacher. I don't know. I think my theory about light tanks is starting to hold a little weight, Derek. What do you think?
I think you're absolutely right, Mike. You know, it wouldn't surprise me at all because they need Dave to get out there. They need him out there. They needed somebody to go and try and break maybe one of the Ferraris and be the tortoise and the hare. And I think that's what you may well be seeing with him. See, Wirtz is, I'm sorry, but Wirtz has now dropped back a little bit more from the Ferraris. I think Ferraris have got to feel the circuit. They got used to the handling of the car. Remember, these tyres are quite special. These tyres are out there. These are tyres they're going to use next year in competing against Michelin.
That's a very long lens, but it does look as if Barrichello is beginning to catch up Michael Schumacher. 3rd to 2nd. Frentzen out of the race with no power steering. He had throttle link problems in qualifying, and now power steering failure puts him out of the event. So David Coulthard leads. Ferrari 2nd with Schumacher and 3rd with Barrichello. Then Benetton for Wirtz, VAR for Villeneuve, and Jaguar for Irvine. Back to the Malaysian Grand Prix, where where David Coulthard's lead dipped to 4.8 seconds and then picked up to 5.6 this last time by. Nightly at 10 and 12, it's the National Sports Report, the show that gives you a complete wrap-up of all the day's sports news with internet interaction, scores, highlights, opinions, and analysis. Nightly at 10 and 12 on Fox Sports Net.
Well, we see David still just inching away. Not that much from Michael Schumacher, but he makes you wonder whether perhaps David, as you said, Mike, is on that two-stop strategy. He certainly did have tremendous move of those first couple of laps when he was just working his way through the traffic. You can't do that with a big load of fuel. So Michael Schumacher, one imagine, knows something that we don't, and that is possibly that he could well, of course, be on a one-stop himself. Look at this. McLaren getting well out of shape. That would have lost some time.
Well, to pick up
that was obviously Mika Häkkinen.
Yes,
I have to say.
And Häkkinen's back in 16th place, Derek, after serving that 10-second penalty. He's 46 seconds off the lead. Now, from Wirtz in 4th place on back, look at how the gaps shrink, because that's a really great battle going on, and it has a lot to do with where these teams end up in the Constructors' Championship. Benetton just ahead of BAR by 2 points and 1 position on the racetrack.
And this is really where this battle is between Benetton, BAR and Jordan. Well, Jordan really are out of the picture, so we're not going to see them battling for that 4th place, which last year they had the coveted 3rd place in the Constructors' Championship. Is down now to between Benetton and BAR Honda, and they're all fairly close together.
Jarno Trulli pitted while we were away for his 2nd pit stop. And so he's back in 18th.
Well, it seems like David Coulthard may well be going in for a fuel stop, which actually is remarkably early, because I would have thought that they wouldn't have gone into about lap 20. And I would have thought he's really in lap 15. It's a bit soon to go in for tyres and fuel, but it seems like they're getting prepared in the McLaren pit. He's got to go a lot quicker than this, though, when he comes out, because he's not making much headway. He's going to lose 20 to 25. He's going to lose 25 seconds when he goes in for his pit stop.
There's Wirtz in the blue car, bottom of your screen. He's starting to fall back into the clutches of Villeneuve. He's been complaining to the team of oversteer.
Well, that makes a change, because the one problem they are having here, or do generally around this circuit, is they get push or they get understeer. That's when the front of the car slides away from you. The more, as you feed the power on the front, just slides out, and you can't get on the power. It's the most frustrating thing, trying to feed the power on, and the front just wants to go off the road. Ralf Schumacher, look, right back in 16th place. He must be having a major problem. He started 8th, and he just hasn't been anywhere at all.
Meanwhile, his teammate Jenson Button, who started 16th, is up to 11th. Now, out of the race, initially we'd identified Jean Alesi. It was not. It was Nick Heidfeld was the Prost involved in that lap 1 crash with Denitz and De La Rosa. And then Frentzen, with the power steering problem, is out. Trulli has made 2 pit stops and is effectively out of the race.
And David Coulthard just hasn't made that big inroads, and he's only 5.6 seconds ahead of Schumacher, and he should have been substantially more than that on that lighter fuel load if he's going in now, unless Schumacher is going in as well, which I somehow don't think he will be.
Mika Häkkinen battling Marc Genet about to be overtaken.
This is rather like the United States Grand Prix. Mika Häkkinen had a dickens of a job to get by the Minardis, if you remember, during the latter part of the race. And in fact, there were some complaints made that the Minardi had got in the way and should have been penalised for it. But, you know, the guy's having his own race as well. Now, Mika, with all that power, should be able to get by that 2-year-old Ford engine. Come on, slipstream, slipping down behind him. Is he going to dip by at the end of it? Come on, Mika, you've got to do a bit more than that, because it's a hairpin. He should be able to get by maybe down the next straight as he comes by the pits.
And I don't blame Genet for not moving over. I mean, this is a battle for position. It may be 14th position, but it is a battle for position.
Oh, yeah, no, it's genuine. He can't be held up. Mika's going to look down the inside. No, Genet saying not tonight, Josephine.
And here's, right there, Derek, is everything that's amiss with Formula One. When a faster car can't pass a car that qualified 2 seconds slower. Something is wrong with the way that these cars rely on aerodynamic grip versus mechanical grip.
Well, there you go. Mika is very close behind him as they go. Of course, Ralf Schumacher's right with him, but Ralf, as I said just now, is obviously having problems. But Mika, look at that. Even that old, I shouldn't say that old Ford engine, it's a wonderful Ford engine, but this is the Stewart engine of 2 years ago that Minardi paid a substantial amount of money for, and Mika Häkkinen is having a wild job to get by him.
And the problem is right here. As Häkkinen closes up on Genet exiting the corner, there's not enough air going over Häkkinen's front wings to give him enough downforce, and the car would slide, and he ended up taking chances.
Yeah, he took chances, got on a lot of dust. What happened is he got on the white cement dust that was laid down for oil from a previous race, and of course that dust was off the line. Mika had to go down that off line to go by, and that's why he suffered from it. He'll be so relieved to have got by Genet.
Well, Genet put up a fair fight, and you know, I started out 2 years ago as an outspoken critic of his, but I've really come to admire the progress that he's made. And there's really, you know, blue flags. You take your blue flags and stuff them because you're under no requirement to move over for a driver that you're battling for position. If Häkkinen was lapping him, yes, he'd give way and do so fairly. But in a battle like that, well, he held Häkkinen off, and I'm sure the Ferrari fans are delirious, and the McLaren fans are upset, but gee, that's racing.
That certainly is racing, but anyway, he's got by him, and there we are. Sauber, we hear, are setting up for a pit stop. McLarens were setting up, but you're not allowed to sit out in the pit road for more than one lap before the car comes in, so I guess they were just getting things tidy. Because David hasn't gone in yet, and they're up to like 17 laps. And David, if he's on a two-stop strategy, will be in roundabout laps 20, 21, or 22.
Now, last year, which is all the history we have at this track to go on, the last of the two-stop drivers came in at lap 25. So that's, of course, tires are different now. Weather's a little bit different, so your mileage may be different. David Coulthard leads in Malaysia. The two Ferraris, the Benetton, the BAR, and the Jaguar. Back to Sepang, where David Coulthard has made his first pit stop of the day. Brings him right back onto the track in a bunch of traffic. But Coulthard, on a two-stop strategy, has made the first of those stops at lap 17. Mika Salo and Jean Alesi were in the pits at lap 16. Let's have a look at the stop.
They're all scrub tires.
Very quick.
Rev limiter on. Everybody can't wait for that white line to come up. Out he goes. But he did lose a lot of time. I mean, you will not lose, but I mean, it cost him time. No doubt. And he will be actually back not far from Mika Häkkinen right now. Because remember, Mika had a stop. He had a 10-second stop. He'd probably be ahead of Mika because he had 4 seconds less in the pits than Mika did.
Remember, Ferrari needs but 3 points to win their second straight Constructors' Championship. And right now, they're on position for maximum points as Michael Schumacher lowers the fastest lap of the race standard.
Which is pretty remarkable when you think about it. David Coulthard was the one that was doing it on a very empty car, and Schumacher's car is only starting to get down towards being relatively light, unless he is coming in on a two-stop strategy as well. But I think the fact that he was allowing David to get away implies to me that he was on a one-stop strategy.
There are the constructor points, and you see that knot at 4th place. Benetton, Jordan, and BAR. And Ferrari 4 ahead of McLaren for most constructor wins.
In 3rd place. Outstanding piece of work by Alexander Wirtz. Jacques Villeneuve well up there, and Eddie Irvine. Zonta's up there too. Look at Herbert. But Button's still not making much headway in 10th place. But he hasn't been happy on this circuit. First time he hasn't really been happy this year, actually, Mike.
And we'll know pretty soon, Derek, who the two-stoppers are. Last year, everyone who two stops had been in the pits by lap 25. The one stoppers all came in between laps 27 and 30. So Jaguar setting up for Eddie Irvine.
These cars look so slow, it's really disappointing.
It's such a long lens.
This long lens, look at it. As the cars come in this corner, it looks so slow. I know it is a slowish corner, but they just seem to come into view. They're doing 185 miles an hour coming towards that lens.
Yeah, I won't say this. This is the most beautifully photographed Grand Prix of the season. And here's Eddie.
Very good stop by Jaguars. Ooh, not a good time to run across the track with your camera.
Bobby Rahal taking over the Jaguar team next year. He is not here this weekend, however. He was in Japan, and of course, the announcement was made at Indianapolis. Oh, trouble for Jenson Button. His last drive for Frank Williams, at least for a couple of seasons.
But it just shows just that how what potential that Benetton does in fact have, seeing the way Alexander Wurz is running out there today. And remember that next year they'll have more of a Renault engine than they had this year. And of course they've got some pretty good designers moved in to help them with designing a new car.
And Jenson will get some seasoning.
Yeah,
at Benetton for 2 years.
In fact, Mike Gascoigne has been released. He was the designer at Jordan, and he's been noticed that since he's left Jordan, he's been on sort of gardening leave for the last 3 or 4 months. The Jordan hasn't gone as well, but he's been released by Eddie Jordan to go to help Benetton for next year. So he's been released early so he can get in there and help design the new car.
Yes, they placed him. Here's Wurz's pit stop. Yeah, they placed him on gardening leave, as you say, so that anything, if he'd been working on the 2001 Jordan, anything that they developed, he could, of course, take over with him, and Eddie didn't want that to happen.
Well, right now, he wouldn't be very interested in it because they're going slower than they were before. What a great stop. 6.4 seconds for Wurz. Just what they needed. It'd be great to see them finish on a high note, I have to say. It's an outstanding race by this team.
Now, Wurz has only 2 points for the season, a 5th in Italy. And his teammate Fisichella right now has 18 points on the year.
Schumacher still lowering the fastest lap of the race so far. Super bit of work by him.
And the gap back to David, 26 seconds in round numbers.
Yes, he's about 1 second inside last year's lap record, but let's not forget that Bridgestone have come up with his new special soft tyre. It's part of the development program so that when we start next year, the teams that are running on Bridgestone will have a great advantage against the Michelin-shod cars. We also hear, although some people at Bridgestone deny it, that they may well quit at the end of 2002 because, of course, some of this action, the cost of this action, because they're part of the Firestone group, and of course they need some of the money to help support that awful action that they're having with these tires.
You know, they got to prop up some of those Ford Explorers, so that's quite a problem. But hopefully that won't impact their Formula One program. Now, Mika Hakkinen is now at 11th place. Now, he made that 10-second penalty stop, but of course no work could be done on the car during that stop. And it looks as if Mika is on a one-stop strategy anyway. They put David on a two-stop, Mika on a one-stop for this race.
He's going to... McLaren quickly going by Wurz there. Sorry, that looked... Oh, was it Fisichella? I thought it was Wurz had just come out of the pits. I apologize for that one.
After the pass on Fisichella, lacks 4 seconds to Eddie Irvine. BAR setting up for Villeneuve. Remember, they lack just 2 points to Benetton. in the constructor standings. Well, Wirtz did so well here last year, Derek, and with fourth in the standings at stake, I guess it's really no surprise that he would get the premier equipment on the team. Well, maybe it isn't a surprise. Fizzy's the lead driver.
Fizzy's the lead driver, yeah. I think it is a surprise. I think it's just the fact that Fizzy is out of favour at Benetton, and he's already been told that at the end of next year, 2001, his services will no longer be required because they'll have Button, and they may well try and get Ralf Schumacher to go and join them. So imagine the confidence you have as a driver knowing that's in the background.
Jacques Villeneuve came into the pits 19 seconds off the lead, but with an 8-second gap on David Coulthard. That, of course, evaporates as he comes in the pit lane.
Look at that. What a super stop. 7.2 seconds. All those 22 people just working like one person as they get that car out on the track. Always amazes me, actually, that not more people get run over or get hit by flying wheels and pieces of jack and hammers.
He comes out behind Wirtz in 8th place now after this first cycle of pit stops. We've not seen Mika Häkkinen nor the Ferraris in the pit lane as yet. Coming up on 23 laps in the Grand Prix of Malaysia. You're watching Formula One on Fox Sports Net. Michael Schumacher is in the pits at lap 24, a little early for a one-stop strategy. Wonder what Ross Brawn's got up his sleeve. 7-second stop is a good one.
It's a good. Doesn't it look slow as they go down there at 50 miles an hour?
Agonizing.
Now, where is David Coulthard? Is he going to come into view? Because he can't be that far behind Michael as he comes out of the pits. Is that David in that second car in your picture now? Looks like a McLaren to me.
There's David. Trying to get by Trulli.
So, of course, it will be the Ferrari will have to come in again for a splash and dash. But, of course, we saw this in the last race where I believe McLaren didn't out-fumble Ferrari at all. They out-fumbled themselves by bringing Häkkinen in early for his stop. And I think that cost them dearly. And they're doing the same thing again now. They called in David early, and really he could have run more laps. But
And then they put him back out on the track in a position where he had to deal with Jarno Trulli, who's a lap down and change. So with 7-second stops, Derek, gosh, it's an awful short stop to try to get a distance here. Last year, again, the teams that made one stop stopped. The earliest of those stopped at lap 27. We're not even there yet. And here's Rubens.
No, exactly. We're not there yet as Rubens comes in. But it makes you wonder. But I just don't think they could have got enough fuel in 7 seconds to see Schumacher through to the end of the race.
So Rubens at lap 25. 7 seconds again.
Michael Schumacher going by the pits as Rubens comes out. Rubens going to look how slow it looks. Lucky he can't see the cars going by outside. He'd be so frustrated. Now he can let it all go. But he's third behind Coulthard and Michael Schumacher.
And guess who's up to fourth? Johnny Herbert. Hasn't made a pit stop yet. Jos Verstappen up to fifth. Likewise has not stopped. But kind of nice to see Johnny up on the leaderboard.
It's interesting to see that Mika Häkkinen has not really done much about Villeneuve or Wirtz, who he was behind after his pit stop or after his enforced stop, and when they came out in front of him, he's done nothing about them.
No, Häkkinen back in 8th. Schumacher the leader. Coulthard, Barrichello, Herbert, Verstappen, and Wirtz. There's Häkkinen in 8th.
Well, watching Michael Schumacher goes round, he's going to, in this off time he'll get now for the next few weeks, he's actually going to go back to hospital in Europe and have those plates out of his leg, you know, that were put in after his horrific crash at Silverstone, the British Grand Prix in 1999. But my goodness, they were good plates. Must have been very lightweight metal. Let's ride with Rubens Barrichello. ...185 miles an hour, down to second gear for the corner, leading onto the pit straight. Again, right down to second gear, 50 miles an hour.
Boy, that's music.
Wonderful sound, isn't it? Nothing like a V10 at 17,500 revs. Remember that Ferrari are actually using their C engine, their 49C. This is the engine they've actually been using for qualifying from the middle of the season onwards, and they've actually decided to run the engine in both their cars for the whole race today.
Look at the recap of this season, starting with Austria. Schumacher the winner after Hakkinen won pole, setting up the season-long battle. San Marino, same result. Hakkinen on pole, Schumacher the winner. Took the first 3 races. David Coulthard broke through at Great Britain. Hakkinen the winner in Spain. Grand Prix of Europe to Schumacher in the rain. Coulthard in Monaco. Ooh, a lot of dust up there from Mika's car. Schumacher coming back and winning in the rain at Canada after taking pole. Coulthard the winner in France. Mika in Austria. Another look there as Hakkinen off-road a bit. And then Rubens in Germany. Mika scored again in Hungary and in Belgium. Michael came back to win in Italy for Ferrari and in the inaugural Indianapolis United States Grand Prix, and Japan to put the capper on the season.
But just look at this dice, Mike. You've got Mika Hakkinen about to take Jacques Villeneuve. He's got both of them got by Alexander Wurz. And now he's attacking Jacques Villeneuve. That won't be easy for Mika Hakkinen, pulling up into 6th place. Jacques Villeneuve will be giving his all, and I don't think he'll be worried too much about blue flags, as Jacques is one of the best. Eyes down and keep your eyes focused and keep ahead of that guy behind you.
And right now, Jacques is in position to put BAR into a tie for the season with Benetton for 4th in the standings. And we dwell on this, folks, because it's vitally important to these teams. The purse structure of Formula One is not a matter of public knowledge, but it is known that the teams are rewarded in purse and in travel money, even in square footage in the paddock and their positions along the pit lane as to where they fall in the Constructors' Championship. Mazzacani makes a stop, and Johnny Herbert running in 4th place, doing soon. And Williams setting up for Ralf Schumacher. So it is vitally important to these teams as far as where they end up in this Constructors' Championship. And here's Villeneuve, and there's the blue car of Wurz, the Benetton, and they will slug it out for 4th in this championship.
As they seeing Mika Hakkinen's wife Erja there looking decidedly pregnant. She must be very glad that the season's over and she can relax during the birth of her child. Otherwise, it could become a little bit earlier than normal.
Johnny Herbert in the pits.
Is Mika going to draft down the back of Villeneuve there? You can see the 3 of them coming into your shot in the middle.
And that's Verstappen just ahead of them, who is the 5th place car. You just saw the arrows go out of screen, or out of camera view, that is.
Boy, I hope they got air conditioning pumped into those helmets, because they certainly need it. Johnny Herbert coming in for probably the last pit stop he'll ever had in Formula One, certainly for fuel.
Lap 28.
Long stop, 19.5 seconds. Ralf Schumacher's in there. And Mark Genet is further back, and arrows would be setting up for Verstappen, who's running a very fine 4th place. What's that? The mechanics there were doing something towards the hydraulics. They had this before, I think, in the United States Grand Prix, and they're pumping some more pressure in.
Ralph getting back on track there behind Genet.
There's Michael Schumacher, David Coulthard, and Rubens Barrichello.
And this should open up quite a gap between them and 4th place, with both Verstappen and Herbert making pit stops. There's Mazzacani and Jarno Trulli as we roll on in Malaysia. You're watching Formula One on Fox Sports Net. Michael Schumacher leads the Malaysian Grand Prix from David Coulthard. This is Mika Hakkinen, who has now climbed to 4th place, but has yet to make a pit stop for fuel and tires.
So if that was the case, he'd have been well away in the race, wouldn't he? That's why he dropped back at the start, because he had so much fuel in and he just couldn't stay with them. So they did the same as teams did last year, one on a light tank and one on a full tank.
And kind of surprisingly, Ferrari did not, although it's yet to be seen. But with Schumacher stopping at lap 24 and Barrichello at 25, it seems that it would be very difficult to go the distance from there without a stop.
Well, that's right, but don't forget they were in a position that they could come in, have the stop and go out and still be in the lead. So why not come in, check that the tyres aren't wearing too fast? Because remember, these tyres would not have done race distance at this circuit or at any other race condition. Right. They've done a lot of testing all over the place with this tyre. So maybe it might have been a safety factor on Ferrari's behalf, because they only put 7 seconds of fuel in.
And we did have a lap or two behind the safety car.
Yes, exactly.
And that uses less fuel.
Another fastest lap for Mika Hakkinen. It shows the tyres are standing up remarkably well. Everybody's very impressed with these tyres.
Little activity in the McLaren garage. So it may be time for Mika to make his stop. David Coulthard was in at lap 17.
McLaren do seem to have the unfortunate position in selecting to do some rather crafty team tactics when their driver gets penalised and can't benefit from it, having had obviously 25 seconds in the pits with his stop of 10 and then getting in and out. By rights, David Coulthard would possibly be going in the not too distant future for his second stop, unless they were doing the same thing with him, but I'm pretty sure he was on a very light load at the beginning, the way he ran away.
He ran only 17 laps and his fuel stop was under 7 seconds. And McLaren is setting up now. So we should see Mika in a lap.
Then it just depends how soon Michael Schumacher and David Coulthard go in, and that would tell an amazing tale as to how quick their stops are. Mika Hakkinen rolls in. How quick can they make it?
About 8 seconds.
It's quite a long stop, actually.
There's the Benetton in right behind him. And that should be Wirtz's second stop. So Wirtz goes 19 laps on the first load of fuel, 17 on the second load. Seemed like a long stop.
Does seem an eternity, doesn't it?
Wirtz scoots back out in front of Verstappen, which would put him at 9th place. So he's got some ground to make up if he's going to put any points on the board for Benetton tonight and preserve 4th in the Constructors' Championship. Jean Alesi is in for his second stop. 16 laps on the first tank and 20 on this second fuel load. About 8 seconds there to make sure they get all the fuel in. So second round of pit stops cycling through. Michael Schumacher continues to lead David Coulthard and Rubens Barrichello in the Grand Prix of Malaysia on Fox Sports Net.
Welcome back to the Malaysian Grand Prix from the garage of Arrows Supertech, one of the most improved teams of the year 2000. But like many situations, it's all changed for 2001, because for Arrows, this is the last race with Supertech engines. Next year, they'll be running the new Peugeot-based ATM engine. It is already tested in Spain and proved very, very promising in the car in the hands of Pedro de la Rosa.
Thanks, Peter. Ricardo Zonta is in for his final stop. Mika Salo's also been in for Sauber.
Mika Salo actually making his last Grand Prix for a couple, or certainly for a full season, because he's going to Toyota as test driver for their new program, probably along with Alan McNish, and they won't appear again until 2002.
So here's Coulthard.
Well, it's going to be down to the pit stops. Will Ferrari make another pit stop? Michael will now have 30 seconds over Coulthard. He can back off. He doesn't have to hurry as much. Can he make his fuel last the end of the race if he had sufficient fuel in there in the first place?
Coulthard putting on scrub tires, both front and rear, Derek.
He did that last time, Mike. Yeah, he did that. I noticed it as he went out last time. Jacques Villeneuve in for his stop, as we saw Zonta in just now. What a great day he's having. Running extremely well. Jacques Villeneuve in fourth place.
And that is a position in which BAR would move up to fourth in the Constructors' Championship, which would be remarkable considering they scored not a single point all of last year.
Well, Ferraris are setting up for a pit stop.
Now, Michael was in at lap 24 and Rubens a lap later in the first sequence.
As far as Ferrari concerned, I mean, I know that Michael's won the World Championship, but goodness me, you always want to win races. No matter who you are, all you want to do is win races. So it's really going to be down to just how quick the Ferraris can do these pit stops. And how quick Michael Schumacher can get these last couple of laps as he comes in.
And this may be for just a splash.
Well, he said he was going to drive for fun this weekend. I'm sure he's having fun. He's got David Coulthard to make him an honest man. And Michael Schumacher must always revel in racing this beautiful prancing horse Ferrari. It is absolutely a wonderful thing to drive for any driver to be part of the Ferrari team, but then to actually win the World Championship as well. Outrageous after all the time and the effort they have all put in. Is he still ahead of Coulthard? At the moment he is.
And you saw Marc Genet's Minardi at the top of the pit straight, his season ending.
This is Barrichello, of course, who's now in the lead. I wonder how he's feeling with a head cold like that in these conditions. As I said earlier, it is awful. Mind you, it's a good way to sweat it all out, but it does make you feel awful in the head. Your concentration just isn't there. Your judgment isn't quite what it should be.
Well, now he'll have to make another stop, we believe. But the question, Derek, is does Michael owe Rubens a win?
Not at this stage, I don't think.
Okay.
I don't think it does. I think if it mattered him beating David Coulthard, and I think David does not have to finish for Rubens to finish ahead of him and so therefore, if David was to fall out now, I believe Michael would be obliged to let Barrichello through. Let's ride with Rubens Barrichello. ...185 miles an hour. Second gear corner. Quite good traction out of there. Works his way down past the pits. A lot of work to be done in those few yards while you're braking, getting down those gears and slowing the car down in time.
As we mentioned top of the show, the only way Barrichello can finish third in the Drivers' Championship is if he wins the race and Coulthard scores no points.
And right now, it doesn't seem that's going to happen.
Jarno Trulli, who's had a difficult day, dancing around 15th position all day after 2 very early pit stops, is in for his final scheduled stop, and Eddie Irvine, the Jaguar, is in as well.
Some 13 laps to go. Michael Schumacher with only 1.7 over David Coulthard. Remember, it seems that Rubens Barrichello should have to go in again for another pit stop. The Ferrari are setting up for him, so he'll be in shortly.
It's Johnny Herbert leading this group.
There's Rubens in the pit lane.
Get it going. They were done in 7 seconds. Rubens spent another 3 getting the car into gear and getting off the line. Tossed away 3 seconds there.
But he's got a big gap, big buffer between him and Irvine.
So Schumacher, Coulthard, Barrichello, Irvine, Häkkinen, and Villeneuve. Then out of the points, Wirtz, Verstappen, Zonta, Salo, Herbert, Fisichella, Ralf Schumacher, Alesi, Trulli, and Mazzacani. Derek, I'm really surprised to see at the inside of many of these corners they've got apex cones, much like you'd have at a Porsche Club driving school.
Well, I guess in case some of the drivers get lost and they just say, well, I pointed over that way. I think they're pretty permanent cones, or unless they're timing cones, something to do with their timing sectors, Mike. It could be to do with that. Wirtz still running very well there in 7th place, as is Verstappen, of course.
So Ferrari with an opportunity to put big points on the board and secure their 2nd straight Constructors' Championship. We'll be right back. Come down to this in the Grand Prix of Malaysia. Michael Schumacher leading David Coulthard now by less than 1 second. 10 laps left to run in the 2000 Formula One season.
I tell you what, if David Coulthard could win this race and overtake Michael Schumacher, what a way for him to finish the year when he did so brilliantly mid-season, when he was actually contesting the lead of the World Championship with Michael Schumacher, and Mika Häkkinen was out of the picture. And suddenly Mika got it all together, came back, and David's really had 2nd place running, 2nd position in the team for some time, but he's come back this weekend. In fact, can you believe it, in the Grand Prix, in the United States Grand Prix, David, we wonder why he was off the pace. They in fact fitted the incorrect rear tires. They put the left on the right and the right on the left when he came in for a pit stop, and that cost him quite a bit of time. So that was due to some of his inconsistency was created by that.
Here's Gaston Mazzacani for Minardi. His plans for next year are somewhat in doubt. In fact, Minardi's future with the withdrawal of their major sponsor Telefonica from Formula One, Minardi's future entirely may be in doubt. Oh no, Ricardo Zonta, his day is over.
That's the end of that Honda engine. This was obviously the Honda engine that they brought in. They bought an engine called the Suzuka special Honda engine they bought in, a little bit more power, and that looks like it's the end of that one. what a fine explosion that was. Good place to go, actually, Ricardo. I think if he tried to turn in that corner, he would have gone flying off the road. Can you imagine looking in your mirrors and just seeing that lot behind you, thinking, my goodness.
I'm trying to think of an alliteration to go from Suzuka Special to Malaysian. What starts with M for blows up? I don't know.
Hand grenade, I would have said.
Right, but that didn't start with M, but that's all right.
These two are really having one heck of a race. It's difficult to get excited because the World Championship's been decided. But if this was Michael Schumacher being chased by David Coulthard for the World Championship, we would have been getting darn excited about it. I'm sure in the cockpit there's nothing calm about it at all.
And if somehow David can prevail, that would give him pretty good bragging rights until next March in Australia.
Yeah, well,
it?
Michael and he were getting on extremely well mid-season, but now they seem to have had some bitter words said about some of Michael's driving tactics, which in a way I have to agree they were a little bit strong, some of his moves. But Michael's been complaining that neither Villeneuve or David Coulthard, who both have been strong critics of his, have actually said anything to his face. All they've ever talked to is in the press, which seems a bit naughty, really.
Coulthard gets ever closer, but again, the problem that we've spoken of these last 3 seasons on Fox Sports Net, that when one car gets close to another, there's just not enough clean air flowing over the second car's wings to provide enough downforce to give that car enough grip to be able to make the pass.
Well, they have got these 4 very slow corners here where the wing probably doesn't make much difference. But Michael always seems to ease away a little bit coming up into this turn, although at this point it's down to less than half a second.
That's as close as you can get in this sport without being side by side. Michael's led 26 of the 48 laps, 6 lead changes, and a good bit of on-course passing today. Mika Häkkinen has fastest lap and 14 of the 22 starters running. 12 seconds back to Rubens from this battle.
Wouldn't David Coulthard just love to win this race? It's certainly not over yet. They're very, very close. Some of these tail markers, these back markers, these tail enders could play a very, very important role in unsettling these two as they come up to go by them. And you can bet your life some of the team managers have been slipping down, like Ross Brawn's been down there, Ron Dennis, to the other team saying, hey guys, let your fellows move over. Hope they can see them coming. There's Fizzy Keller in front of Michael Schumacher, some way in front, mind you. 7 laps to go.
Yeah, Johnny Herbert just in front of Giancarlo. That is a dizzying shot. Oh my goodness. Oh, big trouble. One car sliding hard into the barrier.
The wheel bouncing across the dirt as they went in there.
And it's
Johnny Herbert. What a way for him to finish his Formula One career in the fence. He was running so well. He's back in 10th place, but he's all right getting out the car.
Oh, he lost the right rear and became a passenger. Here's a look.
Oh dear, was he a lucky boy didn't hit that fence earlier? The wheel just totally took off the car. There's a little bit of work to be done there in that Jaguar team to straighten some of those things up. Bobby Rahall's got to contend with that when he joins the team next year, for next year.
Derek, it's hard to tell, but I'm not sure that if that tire deflated or if just the rear suspension broke and then sent the wheel and tire.
He was lifting up. He certainly hurt his feet. Remember, his feet were so badly damaged at Brands Hatch years ago. Terribly damaged. I mean, smashed to smithereens, and he came back. Let's just pray and hope there's nothing wrong with those feet now.
And the car took a very heavy side-on impact into that wall. So we'll hope Johnny's all right.
Let's hope so. Look at these two, so close together. Still haven't caught up Fizzy Keller. But of course there'll be yellow flags out waving at that point. But look at David. Is he going to slip by and have a go down? No,
has a look.
Has a look.
So for the lead in the final event of 2000, David Coulthard chasing Michael Schumacher past the site of Johnny Herbert's accident. 6 laps to go. We'll be right back. Final race of the season and a great final battle to end the season with. 13 seconds up on Rubens Barrichello, who is 16 ahead of Mika Häkkinen. The 2 leaders come into view, Schumacher and Coulthard, less than a second apart. The car behind them, Giancarlo Fisichella, they cleared without incident and without gain or loss to either driver.
4 laps to go, and they're about 6/10 between them as they go over the line. Or about to go over the line. Amazing the way these two have been just stuck like a motorized caravan and a trailer on the back of it, just nose to tail the whole way. Well, since they came out from that last fuel stop.
Mika Salo ahead may be a factor in these waning laps. And we report Johnny Herbert does have a leg injury as a result of that crash. We're not sure how serious. Watch Herbert's right rear wheel and suspension on the replay.
I mean, the whole front of that car is airborne. Absolutely amazing. Then look at the back of it as he goes across the dirt. I mean, he had no braking for that corner at all. As he came up there at sort of about 150 miles an hour, no braking because the wheel came off.
And clearly there, Derek, the wheel and tire bounced away, still inflated, so something in the suspension had to break, and quite violently, to send that wheel and tire flying and the car spinning in the opposite direction.
Absolutely. No, without a doubt, something broke very dramatically.
Mika Häkkinen trying to catch up Rubens Barrichello, but well back. Adjudged to have jumped the start. We did see his car move from its grid position, but then come to a complete halt before the lights went out. Stewards judged that as a foul, and he got a 10-second penalty, which effectively took him out of this race, and McLaren out of a chance to win the Constructors' Championship.
I'd say the other thing, too, is that Ferrari wouldn't have had it quite as easy as if Mika Häkkinen had been there from the start. He's driven an incredible race since his incident, and also he's caught up. I mean, caught up so much time. He's only 15 seconds behind Barrichello. So if he hadn't lost 30-odd seconds back there at the beginning, he would have looked really good right now.
Now, Jacques Villeneuve trying to put 2 points on the board for BAR. And without a reading of the rule book, Derek, I don't think that'll be enough, because if they tie, is that Sakhani? So both Minardis are out. Genet having retired earlier alongside the inside wall of the pit straight. Caution waving in that area, and lots of smoke.
Well, there isn't much wind today, so this is why it's like that. Just hangs there in the air.
I was saying, if BAR and Benetton tie at 20 points, assuming Wirtz does not move into the top 6, and Villeneuve holds on to 5th place, then would Fisichella's 2nd place finish in Brazil be the best finish of those 2 manufacturers and break the tie?
I don't remember it ever happening before, and I'm sure it has to be something like that, Mike. It has to go down to the best position.
Well, if it's best finish, that is the tiebreaker, because Villeneuve's best of the season is 4th several times.
Mika Salo moves over very generously to let those 2 by, having their battle. Mika Salo's last Grand Prix until he appears with the Toyota team in 2002. A lot of hard work for him. I spoke with him a couple of weeks ago, and he said, you know, they're looking forward to the development program. The engine's running very well.
And it looks like he's getting a pretty good toe off the leaders to keep him out of the clutches of Fisichella, though 9th place doesn't have a lot of meaning in the points. Stay with us for trophies, champagne, the drivers' comments, and we'll have a look at some of the highlights of the 2000 season.
Rubens Barrichello actually is doing a tremendous job, because we know he doesn't feel well today, and he hasn't dropped back from these 2 very far. He's 14-odd seconds behind them, but it's not bad at all, because he's feeling not too well, and these 2 are really going hammer and tongs, and he hasn't got to worry too much, because Mika's so, not that far, but Mika's something like 14 seconds behind him.
Yeah, most importantly, he's been able to hold that gap on Häkkinen. There you see it. It's increased to 15.5. So Ferrari will end up with a Constructors' Championship by a wide margin, should things stay as they are.
I wonder if Ron Dennis will come along and congratulate them.
I would hope. Would be the sporting thing to do.
It would be a very nice thing if they did. Interesting fact that there's an Italian journalist, Luca Goldoni, said he said the great Enzo, after the victory last week when Michael won the World Championship, the great Enzo would have said, the steering wheel has changed with the computer age, but the spirit is still mine. I think it's a lovely saying that Mr. Ferrari would have felt like that. 1 lap to go.
Verstappen aside for the 2 leaders, and Coulthard has been able to close but has not been able to make a move on Michael. And it appears for the first time since 1988 only 2 teams will score victories on the season, Ferrari and McLaren, but which will it be today? Final lap, Schumacher by just about 1 second. And right now, Coulthard not in a position to make a move as Schumacher has pulled out a narrow margin.
Well, he's given up on it now. He knows that Michael isn't about to make a mistake. This will be a Ferrari's 135th victory, their 2nd victory in a row in this Grand Prix, and their 10th Constructors' Championship. And their first World Championship was this year for some 21 years. Michael Schumacher, in fact, has won more Grand Prix this year than any other Formula One driver in the history of Ferrari.
Goodness.
You didn't know that, did you?
No, I did not.
Michael Schumacher's already won 9 Grand Prix in 2000, 9 in 95, and Nigel Mansell won 9 in 92. But of course, they weren't both driving for Ferrari at that point.
A lot of red flags in this part of the world.
Rounding the last corner, Michael. Last corner of the World Championship in 2000.
And Michael Schumacher, the world champion, Ferrari, the Constructors' Champion, and Schumacher is a winner again as David Coulthard gets so close and yet so far.
2nd again for David, and I might well say he drove a stirring race, did David. Michael Schumacher, I reckon, had a blast. He knew there was all he could do was go for a victory. He'd won the World Championship 2 weeks ago. Rubens Barrichello did a great job bringing the other Ferrari home. Actually, it was a very strong drive from Rubens Barrichello. We haven't seen one of those for a while, actually, not in that right at the front the way he was.
Mika Häkkinen comes home 4th.
He'll be very disappointed because I feel he had a great chance to win that race. He's my old mechanic. He's one character, isn't he?
Jacques Villeneuve should come across 5th, which would tie BAR with Benetton at 20 points. And Giancarlo Fisichella's 2nd place finish back in the 2nd race of the season in Brazil would be the tiebreaker for 4th in the Constructors' points. We'll be right back with all the celebrations. The Grand Prix of Malaysia on Fox Sports Net is brought to you by Toyota. Toyota, making it happen every day. Well, that number 3 on Michael Schumacher's Ferrari will be replaced by a number 1 for the year 2001. And there you see the tie, Benetton and BAR at 20 points apiece, with Fisichella's Brazilian finish the tiebreaker. We're told that the reason for David Coulthard's early pit stop was that his radiators had filled up with grass. Interesting.
Well, that's no doubt exactly. That was why they were working on the side of that one particular car we saw, and we wonder what it was. And I've seen them like that before, altering the pressure in the car, but I think they're probably cleaning grass out of his radiators as well. But it did look like the guy was cranking a handle, which is something they have to do the pressure.
So Schumacher celebrates his championship with another victory. Not bad, Derek. Start the season with 3 wins in a row and finish it off with 4 in a row.
Fantastic. Who would have believed it when you thought that mid-season recession, when he had so many problems, being punted off a couple of times and made errors on his own.
Right, how many races in a row did he not complete a lap? Was it at least 2, or was it 3? So there are the drivers who were credited with a finish. Mazzacani was not running at the flag. Oh, and
Michael's going to put the wig on.
Is he really? One of the mechanics was wearing that.
Can you
tossed
believe
it into Parc Ferme?
Why not? We should be looking at Schumacher, not at Rubens, with that wig on. 100-degree temperature, and there they are putting a wig on. I can't believe it.
And there's another one tossed in for Rubens. He's got it on. It looks like some German rock star.
He does.
Come on, fellas. It's 2 weeks to Halloween. That's kind of a nice page boy on Rubens there, don't you think?
Yeah. That'll be in a few cameras, a few photographs and newspapers from that shot. Brilliant stuff.
Can't wait to see that on the cover of F1 Racing magazine.
Can you believe that? After all that
goodness.
work, and they have the humour to do that. I know if you win a Grand Prix, it's quite pumping up, but I tell you, in that heat, it's outrageous.
Gives a new meaning to the term silly season. Petronas is the race sponsor. They're the petroleum company. Here is Michael Schumacher's final tally, 108 championship points. Mika David Rubens, and a big gap to Ralf Schumacher and Fisichella. Jacques Villeneuve ends up just 1 point behind Fizzy. Jenson Button, a phenomenal rookie season. Frentzen, last year's star, this year great disappointment. He and Jarno Trulli and the Jordan team. Irvine, Zonta, De La Rosa, and Wirtz. I can't believe everybody's got a red wig.
Italians don't look the same with red wigs, do they? They just look different, that is for sure. Oh, the fans are getting on the track too. Well, I reckon they deserve it. They stood there and sat there in all this heat. They deserve to be able to come on the track and have to feel a bit of that atmosphere.
Well, Italian Racing Red. I haven't seen that on the shelf in the in the supermarket.
Somebody must have done a very good deal on that when they sold that lot. I wonder if they brought them all. Well, look at Jean Todt. He's the team director wearing his.
Well, at least they didn't have red clown noses.
Yes, he's been 8 hard years as Jean Todt been with the team. He won the World Championship with rally teams in the past, had a tremendous reputation. Ferrari took him on board, and look what he's done. He brought all this together. One has to say he's had some severe knocks over the last 8 years, but he brought it together. Michael Schumacher, Ross Brawn, Rory Byrne, and everybody that's come on. He's probably talking to Luca Montezemolo on the phone in Italy right there.
I hope he's talking to his hairdresser. Well, they certainly know how to celebrate.
Well, they haven't all got their hats on, in their wigs, should I say. But a lot of great, enthusiastic mechanics at that Ferrari factory. They don't earn that much money, but my goodness, they just work with Ferrari. It's such an honor to race for that fantastic name. Well, the constructors, Ferrari with 170. McLaren with 152, then Williams with a very fine 36, Benetton with 20, BAR with 20, and Jordan, of course, didn't do well today with only 17. Arrows with 7, Sauber with 6, Jaguar with 4.
Prost and Minardi, no points, so the best finish amongst them will decide who doesn't get part of that travel fund for next year.
Boy, do they need the travel fund where they are, and losing sponsors all the way and not getting the best drivers, so they cannot get the best sponsors. The Ferro breeze picked up as the afternoon has gone on. Certainly wasn't there at the start of the race.
Actually, looking at Prost and Minardi, neither of them had any good finishes. A couple of 8th places in there, so we'll leave it to the statisticians to figure that one out.
Minardi did get a place last year. They had quite a good. I think they had a.
Yes,
they got a point
right.
last year. Prime Minister of Malaysia is there.
Well, quite a festive atmosphere, and well-deserved for Ferrari and their fans. They've waited a long time for this.
Well, it all goes in cycles. We had McLaren, Mercedes for a few years. Before that, we had Williams, of course, doing incredibly well with the Renault engines. Then Renault pulled out, supplying them only to private teams. We saw them coming back again now. Renault coming back next year, running, of course, with Bennett.
Now the drivers are up on the victory podium. And what a sight this must be.
Michael never ceases to be totally overwhelmed by winning, and not totally surprised, but tremendous.
Michael Schumacher conducting the Italian national anthem. A former head of state of Italy rebuked Michael for that, and he apologized publicly. I thought it was a rather festive touch, but apparently everyone did not agree. So the Prime Minister of Malaysia presents Michael Schumacher with his winner's trophy.
Dr. Mahathir Mohamad. Michael waving it. Wonderful moment for him, winning all these Grand Prix for Ross Brawn receives the Constructors' Award. Ross Brawn, who's... Wonderful moment for him, winning all these Grand Prix for Ross Brawn receives the Constructors' Award. Ross Brawn, who's just put so much into the technical side and, of course, the pit strategy side within the Ferrari team. And David Coulthard, a great second place. I think that is great for David. He needed it at the end of the year. Boost his confidence a lot during the winter before next season.
And the Prime Minister does a hasty and very political exit from the podium, and we apologize for what we understand is video breakup coming back to you, because here comes the champagne.
Well, Ross Brawn's catching it this week. It was John Tott 2 weeks ago.
Like soaking his wig. We'll be back to hear from the podium finishers right after this. Michael Schumacher celebrates a season that sees 9 victories, 2 seconds, 2 thirds, and a 5th place finish, earning him championship points. To wrest the championship from Mika Häkkinen, and Ferrari is the Constructors' champion once again. The drivers posed for pictures in their fright wigs and are now en route to the press conference room, where hopefully, without those wigs, we'll hear their comments.
I always wonder just how bad it must smell in that press conference, and all the drivers are covered in champagne and sweat. It must be
sweat and
horrible.
champagne. That's not a great combination, is it? Well, what a season. For McLaren, for Ferrari, for Williams BMW, coming up third after a dismal 1999. A reversal of fortune between them and Jordan. Benetton recovering. BAR scoring their first points and in fact scoring 20 of them.
Olivier Panis coming in next year. Ricardo Zonta leaving Jordan, going to Jordan possibly as test driver.
And will Montoya succeed at Williams?
It'll be very interesting to see just how he goes, in fact, because obviously he's going to have a lot of tracks he hasn't been to before. He did used to test for Williams, we know that, and did a full season of being their test driver, but 2 years, or is it just 2 years he's been in the States, is quite a long time to be away from it all, and cars have changed a lot, and the tires.
Yeah, driving very different cars with very different levels of grip. And there's kind of the Zanardi factor kind of looming over Montoya's shoulder after Alex won the kart championship and then came over and his firecracker just fizzled in Formula One. So Ferrari moves ahead of Williams for the most constructor championships in Formula One history, as we await the drivers in the briefing room for the final podium finishers press conference of 2000.
It is a fantastic facility, you have to say, that they built there. I mean, that pit complex and those grandstands, they're so beautiful. Nobody's built a track like that anywhere else in the world, that's for sure. I mean, it's a long way for everybody to go, so they know that they're really never going to get their money back. It purely has to be for the good of the country and for the impression it gives to the rest of the world.
Well, the Malaysian Grand Prix brought $131 million into the economy, and here we go with the podium finishers.
The top three finishing drivers for the last Grand Prix of the 2000 season, the Malaysian Grand Prix. It's Michael Schumacher, David Coulthard, and Rubens Barrichello. Michael, many congratulations. The Constructors' Championship, your 9th win this season, equals the record. It must be because you're worth it.
Thanks to remind me to our L'Oreal advertise. Yeah, you see, he's doing good. Huh? Yes, we wanted to win this race. We did it. A very tough race, very tight race. I mean, DC really pushed from the first to the last lap. So did I, and that meant a flat-out race, very, very tough physically, car-wise, and everything. And yeah, we did it. We won the Constructor Championship after all, not by just taking 3 points, by winning and becoming third. That's just, I think, the right result, what the team deserves, honestly, to my view.
Now, obviously, at the end of the first lap, you must have been rather surprised to see both McLarens in front of you. Did you know that Mika had jumped the start?
No, I mean, I can't look in the mirrors at this moment, and he's just behind me, these 8 meters, 10 meters, so for me it's impossible to see the same as when David had the same situation in India. I cannot judge that, because you concentrated on the light and on what you're doing, and then you start to watch two other guys, what they do. I didn't have a very good start. I mean, I was suffering, not really to get off well enough. A lot of wheel spin, just not got a good going. But anyway, I mean, we went third after DC outbraked me from the outside. And then we just had to watch what the strategy can do for us.
Now, you actually set your personal fastest lap at the end of the first stint. You never really went fast again in the following two. Was it because you're just controlling the race, or did the car go off slightly?
No. It might be the tyres. The tyres become better when they get older. It could be a factor. And I did more laps on my first set than I did on the other set of tyres. I guess it's that. Plus, in the last stint, I mean, I saw the gap. I judged it, and obviously you don't go for 100% because you don't want to make a mistake, and doing 100% drive is easy, so you just go this little bit slower, which means the lap times are a little bit less.
Thanks, Michael. David, so near yet so far. You were pushing all the time, and a very, very different strategy from your teammate. I mean, how did McLaren come up with that idea?
Well, unfortunately, we didn't intend stopping anywhere near as early as lap 18, but when I ran off the circuit coming out of turn 6, I filled the left-hand side of the car with grass, and the temperatures were going up for 5 laps, and then it sort of stabilised. But the team felt it was better to take the gamble, and even though we knew obviously we'd lose time, it was better to lose time and make sure you could guarantee the engine would make it to the end. So it's disappointing, because then it could have been a bit closer, but that's the way it works out. I should have kept the car on the circuit.
Now, at the end of the race in the weigh-in, we saw you having a quick word with Michael. What did you say?
Well, to be honest, I was just apologising to Michael for the year. You know, we've had some differences, and I'm embarrassed that sometimes I was maybe saying things too publicly and not going to talk to him face to face. And it was just really to we're at the end of the season, to apologise for that and to say he's a great champion, and I look forward to competing against him next season.
David, thank you very much. Ruben's a very strong third place, especially considering you've not been feeling well all weekend. I mean, how were the conditions out there today?
Well, the conditions were hot, and as you said, I still have a little bit of flu. And I was worried at the beginning of the race because, you know, my conditions were not great, but the car felt great the whole time, and, you know, I could keep quite well the pace. I lost time on my second pit stop due to the fact that I couldn't get first gear, which was a shame because I was closer to the battle. But I'm pleased. My season went very well, and to finish a strong third position in this race means, you know, we're going to start next year in a good position as well.
Rubens, thank you. Michael, after Suzuka, you said you hadn't planned a party. I believe there's a huge party planned tonight. Do you intend to let your hair down?
I intend to change my color, but I don't see the point for taking away the hair. I mean, whoever wants to do that, it's fine, but that's not my intention. I think you can celebrate in different ways, and we will celebrate, I think, in a big way tonight. The poor guys have first now to pack up everything because everything has to be shipped out tomorrow. It's a bit of a shame after such a race and year that you can't just let off. I mean, these guys have to continue working. But then after they finished, hopefully early tonight, we then going to have a big party.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Jennifer. Now a word from Michael and Rubens, your own languages, please. Michael first.
There is a new fashion in Formula One, and the color is red. Italian racing red. We'll be right back to Malaysia after this. Well, fashion is contagious, and in the interview room, David Coulthard has now also donned one of those red wigs affected by the Ferrari team. Driver points. Michael Schumacher is the world champion. Mika, David, Rubens, Ralph, and Giancarlo.
Ferrari win, McLaren second, Williams third, Benetton, BAR Honda, and Jordan Mugen Honda round out the six. Well, as far as I'm concerned, Mike, to see Ferrari win is absolutely outstanding, and to win the Constructors' Championship as well. Brilliant stuff.
It's been a thrilling season, and Derek, my great pleasure to share it with you and with Peter Windsor.
I've enjoyed it as well with you, too, I have to admit.
We look ahead to 2001 with these images and a tribute to the folks who made it all happen for us. Congratulations to Ferrari and Michael Schumacher. For Peter Windsor and Derek Bell, I'm Mike Joy. Thank you for watching Formula One on Fox Sports Net.